That tour on the final night at the fabled Budokan Hall. In case you're wondering if this is a cheap trick at Budokan, yes it is. I see my name on the list, tagging up with a guy named Texas Terminator Haas, ready to do battle with the Funk Brothers, Dory and Terry. Now, with the guys of that era, they didn't like to talk about matches beforehand. They'd usually just say, we'll see you in the ring. And that makes it a little bit harrowing, but also relieves you of the need to remember a bunch of stuff, right? So I step into the ring with Terry Funk, haven't said a word to him. We lock up, and I both see and feel him withdraw that legendary left hand. And all of a sudden, I remember very much what it felt like to be 4 or 5 years old on Christmas Eve, peering through a frosty window pane, listening for the faintest jingling of Santa's sleigh bells in the winter wind. You know what it feels like. Everything, the mysteries of the world were going to be explained to me. I'd never been so excited in my life. And then, Terry Funk punched me as hard as he could in the head. I felt like another character from a fabled Christmas movie, Ralphie from A Christmas Story. When he finds out that his secret decoder ring spells out, drink more Ovaltine. I was devastated, even backwards in the dressing room. I yelled at him, he's my idol, my mentor, and I said, that's it! That's the secret! The secret is, there's no secret! You punch people as hard as you can in the head! Anyone can do that! I can do that! And he looks at me and says, oh, Cactus, all this time you thought I was good. So I had a couple big breaks with Ted Turner's World Championship Wrestling, right? Left the same reason both times as a new booker came in, the same guy both times, a guy named Ole Anderson. I'm not here to malign the good name of Ole, who's a legend in his own right. Just here to say that in both intervals, 91 and 95, I thought I'd worked too hard, 91 and 94, sorry, to put my fate in the palm of one man's hand. So I left both times. Came back the better of it on both occasions, and in 1995, after leaving Ted Turner's WCW, despite the fact that I was making $3,000 a week 25 years ago, that's a lot of money. I had 2 small children, I had a mortgage over my head, but again, I felt like I'd worked too hard. You have to trust me when I say I had no burning desire to participate in the bizarre Japanese deathmatch subculture until I found out that Terry Funk, and that's Funk with an N, so where am I in the F-bomb scale, my man? Still at 0, haven't needed, right? Haven't needed to go there. I know I have colleagues in the wrestling business. If anyone saw Jake here, Jake's probably about 18 F-bombs deep by this point in the show. Diamond Dallas Page needs about 17 F-bombs to describe the birth of a fuzzy puppy, right? So where am I? Still at 0, okay? And so I call IWA Japan and I sign on the dotted line because I felt like doing so and having the opportunity to wrestle Terry Funk would mean nobody's going to take the ball from me before I'm done running with it. No one's going to pull the carpet out from underneath me just as I'm getting some momentum going. And most importantly of all, I have a chance to prove to the wrestling world and to myself that I'm capable of drawing money in that business. Or as Tony Schiavone would later infamously put it, put butts in seats. And so, that was indeed the case. I did get to run the ball as long as I could. Tour that started on January 1st, culminated on January 10th, small town or prefecture outside of Tokyo called Guma. January 10th, 1995, my first singles, no-rope, barbed wire Japanese deathmatch. For those of you wondering, real barbed wire? I think you're wondering real barbed wire, right? Real tomato ketchup, Eddie? Got one vacation fan. Thank you, sir. This was Japan. They're sticklers for details. They don't like the fake stuff. Now, Terry Funk was an iconic part of that culture because a whole generation of Japanese fans had grown up watching him on their TV every Saturday morning. So he dressed with the Japanese in a different part of the building. Didn't have a chance to talk to him, didn't even see him before the match. But we both knew, without knowing, without saying, without expressing it, that there might have only been 150 fans in that near-freezing little gymnasium in Guma. but we knew that the Japanese media contingent was there in force. And for reasons I still don't comprehend, for somehow they were able to take the photos and put them out in brilliant color within 2 days' time in Japanese wrestling magazines that would be seen by 500,000 diehards across the country. This is essentially our TV taping and our way of taking this little promotion, IWA Japan, and building a foundation upon which it can grow. Now, Tracy Smothers, veteran wrestler we lost a couple years ago, he sees me in the state of mind I'm about to enter, okay? Because I go rifling through my cassette tapes looking for something so I can metamorphosize into somebody different and tougher and braver and cooler than I actually am. Okay? Because I think if you're not a wrestling fan, you're here watching me for the first time, you're like, he's a pretty good, kind-hearted, benevolent human being. If you have been following me, you can see I do some pretty good things out there, right? I try to make the world a slightly better place for all mankind. Generally speaking, being a kind-hearted, benevolent human being is a positive thing, but let me tell you something about kind-hearted, benevolent human beings. They don't tend to fare well in no-rope Japanese barbed wire death matches. So when the semi-main event match ends, and the Japanese trainees, who we call the young boys, they begin taking down the ropes, they begin putting up that wire, I realize I have about 20 minutes to transform into a different human being altogether. I go rifling through my cassette tapes. Yeah, I know it's 95 and the CD had been invented, but I wasn't buying into that. I go rifling through all my favorites. Rush! Yeah. Triumph! Yeah. Neil Young! Yeah. Gordon Lightfoot! Yeah. Ann Murray! I'm running out of Canadian words. Sorry. And then I was like, no. And then I saw one last cassette and I was like, that's the one, brother. That's the one. Little Earthquakes by Tori Amos. Oh, yeah. Do we have a Tori fan in the house? Right. Now you know me as the sensitive wrestler, right? She sang a song called Winter. By God, it's the most beautiful song I'd ever heard to this day. It's this beautiful song about a daughter's love for her dad, but somehow made me feel like I was that guy who was tougher and stronger and braver. It did something to me. It made me feel inside like I was capable more than I ever guessed. I had that thing on for like 5 straight songs. I take off the Walkman headsets. Tracy Smothers walks over me, sees the process I'm entering in my mind, and says, Cactus, there's not too many people out there tonight. Promise me you won't do anything crazy. And I looked at him like it was the most absurd request I'd ever heard. I'm going to admit, all right, not only am I not a naturally gifted athlete, I don't know how I ever made it in professional wrestling. Don't know how I ever survived, let alone thrived. I don't know how I kept my head bobbing above that sea of testosterone. Because I didn't have any of the attributes that main event guys of my era had. And I'm not just talking about the chiseled physique, but I'm talking about the fact that I did not hunt, I did not fish, I didn't have a cool big dog, a monster truck, or a muscle car. To this day, I'm a minivan guy. There was a female wrestler, her name is April Hunter. She got to know me a little bit, looked at me and said, "You're an emo kid in disguise." Maybe so. Maybe so, but that fact notwithstanding, my reply to Tracy Smothers' absurd request will strike you as one of the most badass things you've ever heard in wrestling or elsewhere. Because when he said, Cactus, there's not too many people out there, promise me you won't do anything crazy, I looked at him and said, you know I can't do that. That's badass, right? The reason you're the only person clapping is everyone else has got goosebumps. I can see him! And true to my words, I went out there without speaking a word to Terry Funk or even seeing him. We tore that building and ourselves apart. You could get arrested and do time in most countries in the world for what Terry Funk and I did in the name of building that little promotion. Later, when I went back to New York, I saw a doctor for my injuries. He looked at me and said, I've heard about things like this in prison breaks. There's the sheer number of lacerations on the hands and forearms. But when that match was over, 18 minutes of the most grueling, punishing stuff I'd ever done in my life, I breathed a deep sigh of relief. I lost that match. Because I'm Mick Foley, that's what I do. I will argue, no one ever lost matches with the style that I did. Turned it into an art form. But I wanted the ability to relax after that match. The fans all rushed around Terry, all 150 of them in their winter coats. I was just about ready to head to the dressing room when I heard the sound. I won't say a voice because it didn't register as a voice at first. It was like a ghost in the wind, and it sounded like this. Doctor. So I didn't answer. Then I heard it again. Doctor. Doctors, where are you? So I just yelled out, Terry, I'm right here. We started crawling towards each other. And as I got closer to Terry Funk, that group of 150 people in winter coats, they dissipated to allow us to meet like it was the arrival of some type of nuclear superpower, like an armed forces summit, right? As we got close to each other, I reached out to him and I grabbed him by the shirt, and he grabbed me by the shirt, and we used each other's broken, battered, bleeding bodies to pull each other up. And then we sank in a hug. When I say a hug, I'm not talking about a post-COVID, barely any torso-to-torso contact type of hug. I'm talking about locking that son of a gun in and just being so glad I had this broken, battered, bleeding body to hold me up. And it wasn't homoerotic in the least. And all the Japanese fans, let's be delicate, okay? You see, we have a cross-section of societies. You know, this is like a melting pot, like New York, so I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want to stigmatize anybody, but I will say you can talk about ethnicities or countries as long as it's positive, right? Japanese tend to respond as one. So when Terry Funk and I hugged it out, they responded by going, ooh. And then they gave us the golf clap, which is like the Japanese version of the standing ovation. All was right in the world. This is the most perfect ending of a match I'd ever had until I heard that voice like a ghost in the wind. But this time it whispered in my ear and it said, "I'll drive me." I said, "What?" And he said, "I'll drive me, doctor." And I knew this was going to ruin the great finish, but he was Terry Funk. What was I going to do? So I took a step back, boot to the midsection, put his head in between my knees, lifted him upside down, and in classic Cactus Jack fashion, dropped the fabled Funker head first onto that cold gymnasium floor. And those same fans who were all happy as one now got angry in unison and went, "Ooh." But so many years after the fact, 27 and a half years, that's the match that stands out in my mind as the one I'm proudest of because of the lengths we were willing to go. Relatively little money involved to put that little promotion on the map. But thank you, Terry, for creating that memory for me. He was part of another memory, okay? We're coming up on the 24th anniversary of a little something I did, June 28, 1998. Yeah. With a gentleman named The Undertaker. And the match's origins begin in Stamford, Connecticut, okay? Because I've been told that I'm going to be part of this, I learned in Philadelphia never to ask the fans for a chair, okay? Fans, on your way home, Google Cactus Jack, Terry Funk, chairs. Remember that song, It's Raining Men? You know, like, no, it actually be Raining Men. Well, it was raining chairs that night. So many of them that the Public Enemy were literally buried under the carnage, and they stayed there and took it. Got up minutes later, literally buried under the wreckage. Anyway, listen, man, I was a little worried when I heard I got the call for the second ever Hell in a Cell match, because the first one, for my money, to this day stands out as the best one there's ever been. That's Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. Again, not a naturally gifted athlete. I knew I couldn't do the stuff that Shawn and The Undertaker had done, and so I wanted to watch the match with Terry Funk, get his observations. So we were doing what's known as a dark match, a house show, non-televised house show, live event in Hartford, Connecticut. Therefore, we were able to stop by the WWE offices in Stamford, Connecticut. I snuck in a little workout. When I say little, I mean little. And then we watched the match. 20 minutes or so, and my mouth's wide open. And I look at Terry and I said, what am I going to do? He was usually so full of ideas, but this time, after about 10 seconds, he said, Captain, I have no idea. And then he started to laugh. He had this very unusual laugh that went like that. You know what you ought to do? You ought to start the match off on top of the cell. Imagine if The Undertaker threw you off the top of the cell. And then he stopped laughing. I looked at him and I said, I think that I can do that. The most difficult aspect of bringing that to life was trying to convince The Undertaker to cooperate. 10 straight days I was on his case about starting that match out on top of the cell. For those of you who don't know what wrestling that well and say, well, why would you have to pass it by him? Why couldn't he go up there yourself? I'll just say this is pro wrestling, live TV. If I go up there and he doesn't follow me, I'm looking at the worst match in wrestling history. Finally, the last night, he goes, Jack, why are you so intent on killing yourself? And I told him about the history that he and I had. Because our angle started the day after WrestleMania, April 1st, 1996. We were 2.5 years into my tenure in WWE. And we wrestled 7 pay-per-view matches, 15 TV matches, been all around the country and different parts of the world together. And I thought we had a legacy that I couldn't approach without some tricks up my sleeve. And I convinced him that if we could start the match in a way that nobody had ever started a match and done a few things that nobody had ever done, that maybe we could convince fans we were having a great match, even if we were not. So when I showed up in Pittsburgh, Mr. McMahon asked me if I'd been on top of that cell earlier in the afternoon. I assured him I had. Biggest lie I told in my life up until that point. He asked me if I was comfortable, and I said I was, which became the new biggest lie I'd ever told in my life. Because the truth is, when I got up on top of that cell, the people below looked so unbelievably freaking small, like ants, that even though I don't use the F word verbally, I think it often. And I looked out at these people who looked like ants. I was thinking to myself, there's no effing way. But I couldn't, so I didn't. I just hoped for the best. And at a certain point, 30 minutes in, he grabbed me by the back of the collar and the waistband, and brother, off I went, 16 legit feet high, crashing through a table, all but decimating it. And a series of surreal events took place. First of all, my body spun out, and I ended up with half of me in the audience of the Pittsburgh Civic Arena. They used bicycle racks at that time for safety. Right now, WWE's got those cool, futuristic-looking barricades. You know the one I'm talking about, right? They use them on WrestleMania and all of their great pay-per-view events and Fastlane. And the crowd starts chanting The Undertaker's name, right? They do the hockey chant. Undertaker. 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 That petered out in a hurry. You guys are Canadians fans. You're used to disappointments. You can boo, but don't tell me it's not true, man. And you know what I'm thinking? As they're chanting his name, you know what I'm thinking?
What? What?
Well, he went like this.
Yeah.
He went like this. Maybe they're cheering for the wrong guy. Many of you know that I suffered many an injury that night. Most of you did not know that the majority of them were emotional. Sensitive hardcore legend. And now this is where the plan kicks into gear, because only 3 people knew. Undertaker, Mr. McMahon, and me. I said, I don't know if I can climb off that gurney, if I can find the strength and the fortitude. Not just any fortitude either. Testicular. Fortitude of the testicular variety. I'm going to roll off that gurney and I'm going to climb that son of a bitch one more time. That's just what I did. Slowly. I'm not going to claim it was a speedy journey because it was not. But I'm a glass half full guy. As I was climbing, I'm thinking to myself, at least the worst part of my evening's over. That did not turn out to be the case. Not at all. Because as soon as I got up there, the Undertaker chokeslammed me. We thought it might take 4 or 5 chokeslams to break through that cell. Again, that did not happen either. I went through that chewing like a hot knife through butter, and the chair that I had the wisdom and foresight to bring up on top of that cell structure with me followed me every foot of the way, smashed me in the face, leading to some serious dental damage, which you can see on full display tonight, right? 24 years later, I gotta call Britt Baker, DMV, to fix this stuff. Now I hit the ground. And here's the weird thing. Only in wrestling, the room or the ring fills up with participants, Terry Funk being the first. Because in wrestling, we didn't stop matches, we bought time. It was in the hopes of buying me time that Terry Funk was the first person in the ring. Now, Mr. McMahon, out of the goodness of his heart, in the days that followed the Hell in a Cell, sent me home to convalesce for 3 days. That's no joke either. And during those 3 days, I watched the match or parts of that match probably 100 times. And I was aware that while I was unconscious for 42 seconds, that the ring filled up with people, and that there were words exchanged between Terry Funk and The Undertaker. But they're just said so casually, I never once questioned what the words were. Fast forward to 2013, 15 years after the fact, I'm being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. And because they got so much firepower there, they had Bruno Sammartino being inducted by Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bob Backlund being inducted by Maria Menounos, Trish Stratus being inducted by Stephanie McMahon, and former President of the United States, Donald Trump. You can't make this stuff up. Inducted by Vince McMahon. So they gave me the latitude to invite whoever I wanted to induct me. I chose Terry Funk. I was glad I did. He gave a great speech. It was short, it was funny, it was poignant. But most of all, he shed light on the words that have been shared between he and The Undertaker. And I'm standing about 5 feet behind that curtain. When Terry Funk shares those words, I get a chill down my spine, and it's like a lightning bolt all the way down the right side of my body to the sole of my right foot. To this day, I don't know why it was the right foot. I'm going to take you back, okay? Remember, I go through that cell structure, boom, I'm out. The Undertaker, I get a lot of credit now for what I did in that match. Does anyone remember his state of health when he entered the match? He had a broken foot. So when he's up on top of that cell structure, he's got to figure out how to get down there. Even at 6'10" with the massive wingspan, he's hanging several feet, but he's got to drop 5 or 6 feet. He is hobbling. First guy he sees is Terry Funk, and Terry says The Undertaker walked up to him and said, "See if he's alive." See if he's alive? And when I watched the replays, I thought Terry was just haphazardly touching me on the neck. He was taking my pulse on live television. Came back to The Undertaker and reported, "Oh, he's still breathing." And then it was then that Terry Funk was choke slammed out of his shoes. His shoes came off during the choke slam. So after being unconscious for 42 seconds, my first thought was, oh, where'd those shoes come from? Look at those shoes. And the saddest part of that whole match, if you go home and you watch it, it's not the first dramatic throw off of the top of the cell. It's not the choke slam through. It's when I tried to regain my footing and couldn't stand. And I fell back down. It was then the Undertaker came over to me and he spoke a few words. This is where the kayfabe is part of the reason we can't record these things, okay? I'm sworn to secrecy. I'm sharing this because I know you put down your hard-earned money and I think you deserve it. Words have never been shared until now. The Undertaker had that long mane of dark red hair, right? So when he leaned over, it was like a code of silence. I'll never forget what he said. He just looked at me and said, "Oh, hey there, fella. You okay?" You ruined your illusion of the guy. Wow, that's a humdinger of a landing, pal. Actually, that's not what he said. He said two words. Go home. Even the non-fans know he's not talking about packing a bag and going back to Long Island. Go home in WrestleSpeak means this match is over. The general rule, when The Undertaker gives a command in the ring, it's not open to interpretation. But on that one night, kind of like in '95 in Guma, Japan, I felt like I was tougher. Sorry about that, strong. Pizza, man, it's delicious over here. Tougher and stronger and braver than I've ever been before. Tougher and stronger and braver than I've ever been since. And although it wasn't the way we planned it, The Undertaker and I limped over the finish line together. In the process, walked our way into the pages of wrestling history. Many years I will not talk about that match. I just felt like I had other matches that I was proud of, where I wasn't knocked out, where I did not have a tooth nestled in my nostril. And then maybe somebody would like to talk about one of those once in a while. But they never did. What changed my mind was the night The Undertaker came to see my event in Austin, Texas. I didn't know he was going to be there. People would be like, couldn't he send you a text message? And I was like, no. They said, why? I was like, because he's The Undertaker. He doesn't send emoticon smiles. LOL, the dead man. He showed up in person with his wife, Michelle, and I remember it like it was yesterday. He said, Jack, what you and I did will outlast us both. People will be talking about that match when both you and I are dead and gone. And when he said that, it was like this huge weight was lifted off my shoulder, and I felt more comfortable talking about it. Not only comfortable, proud of it. Because I realized that this was not the tale of one human being, me, Mick Foley. It wasn't even the tale of two human beings, me and The Undertaker. It was the tale of three human beings. One human being who went through the most dangerous match ever devised with a broken freaking foot. And that human being chokeslammed a second human being out of his shoes in order to buy time for a third human being previously thought to be deceased, so that he might regain consciousness. Let me repeat that again. Might regain consciousness. And if he could regain consciousness, then by God, they were going to continue their fake pro wrestling match. That's the beauty of wrestling. Before we take our questions, I know there's large swaths in my career I didn't cover, so if you've got questions, we're probably going to turn up the lights a little bit so I can see everybody during the Q&A. And we're going to take about 40 minutes questions. But I want to go back to when I first started doing these type of events. I spoke at colleges from 2003 through 2007, her 18th birthday, and she thought it was, one of the things I did was the funniest thing she'd ever seen. It was her dad, as Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, getting somewhat upset upon learning that she had always had the key to returning to Kansas, but the Good Witch did not choose to share it with her because she never would have believed her. So there I was in a blue gingham dress. And I brought that blue gingham dress to a small town in Ontario, and I got the distinct feeling that Mick Foley wearing a blue gingham dress was not the Mick Foley they'd come to see. But I found a way to bring that to life. Much as I talked about the bumps that Mr. Perfect took and learning how to utilize them, you keep everything in the back of your head. You never know when you will be able to bring them to life. And tonight, I'm going to bring them to life with me as the Good Witch, and with a certain gentleman in the role of Dorothy. Hit the music.
I am so pissed off right now, Mick Foley. Now things are falling down, and I am so mad because this place sucks. I mean, you got this big old piece of trash walking around saying he doesn't have a heart. I'm gonna bring him to the sheet metal scrap. What? You got a little piece of trash going, every day. I'm gonna put my foot up his ass with this lollipop gig. I do not like this place house. I don't like Dorothy. I don't like the Scarecrow. I don't like those mealy mouth little damn munchkins. And I don't want to damn well be here anymore.
Hold on, Steve. Before you go bad-mouthing the land of Oz, let me assure you, it's not that much different than the great state of Texas. For example, do you like junk food?
Yeah, I like junk food.
What type of junk food?
I like hot dogs, hamburgers, cheese, candy, whipped cream. Did I say hamburgers? I like ho-hos. I like Flakies. And I even like cheesecake.
If you had to pick a favorite, what's your favorite junk food?
I guess ho-hos.
Good choice. Admirable choice. Doo-wop music? Do you enjoy the doo-wop music that's big on Oz?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Sha-Na-Na.
We get this crazy thing on Oz that we all like to watch. Not sure if you've ever heard it, but Guys in Tights, it's professional wrestling.
I love me some professional wrestling. I'm a professional wrestler. I watch Monday Night Raw every damn Monday.
Well, there you go. I told you, it's exactly like Texas. Just hear me out. Sha-na-na, ho-ho-hos, and a couple of Monday Raws. That's how we play the day away in the merry old land of Oz. Ha ha ha, ho ho ho, and a couple of
Monday Raws. That's how I left the day away in the merry old land of Oz. I left the day away in the merry old land of Oz. Where's my beer? Where's my beer? Come on, son.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh my goodness. Wow. They love nudie bars. That's the secret. All right, so we're going to turn the lights up a little bit. I'm perspiring heavily under here, right? Oh man, I'm working hard to the mic. All right, so we're going to do some questions. You guys have questions over here? Anyone has questions? Look to me like you two were snuggling over there. Like enjoying. Yeah, there you go. All right, who's got questions? All right, let me say. Big Stu, how many F-bombs did I drop?
0.
Okay, I've got one left. That's good to know. All right, gentleman with the Triumph shirt. Go ahead. Favorite Triumph song?
Lay It on the Line.
That's my favorite too. What a guitar riff, right?
Did you see the documentary, by the way?
On Triumph as a documentary?
Yeah.
Triumph? Has anyone ever seen Rick Emmett and Ricky Morton in the same place at the same time? They're the same guy, brother. All right, that's a good song. Okay.
Well, the question was because you were talking about the Undertaker, and he had his Hall of Fame induction, but there was a lot of talk about how he didn't mention you during his speech. So I was just wondering what you thought of that.
I forgot to mention my wife during my speech. I'm not really in a position to talk and lecture anybody about who they should be. I had 5 names written, one on my thumb, my fingers. It was Superfly Snuka, Dominic DeNucci, Shane Douglas, The Undertaker, and my wife. And it wasn't until I finished my induction speech and then I went in, I was watching on the monitor, and I saw Booker T all but doing soliloquies and sonnets to, his wife. And baby, I love you. I'd say I love you 1,000,000 times a day. You're the most important thing in my life. I love you. And I look at my pinky and it says Colette. And I went, oh, son of a gun. So look, he was talking about people who were really instrumental in the beginning of his career, and he did mention a lot of the people he had fabled feuds with. I'm not lying. It's always nice to be mentioned, but I never expect it, and therefore I'm never really disappointed when it doesn't happen. So I've been mentioned quite a bit over the years, and then Randy Orton gave me a seriously big shout out like 2 weeks later. Said if it wasn't for Mick Foley, there'd be no Legend Killer. So yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah. Okay, next question. Let me say we got a gentleman way back there in the corner.
Can you tell us how you felt watching Vince take that stunner at Wrestlemania?
I think you know exactly how I felt. Look, it was just, I think, my son was working for WWE, right? He worked there for 6 years, just left. My daughter lives out of town. And my youngest son and my wife were on a little bit of a vacation. So I was home with my 21-year-old Mickey. And I had been laughing for probably 30 to 45 seconds before he picked up that phone and recorded me. And brother, I mean, you know within 30 seconds when you send something on Twitter, whether it's connecting with people, and it had well over 1,000 likes after 30 seconds. Ended up with 1 million views. And I'm guessing that only 50,000 people saw it, but they all watched it 20 times, right? How do you do something that is simultaneously the best and the worst of its kind? So it was the best stunner and the worst stunner. When it was over, I was worried he may have blown a quad out, He's got a history of doing that. I guess he didn't subscribe to the Mick Foley mathematical formula, which is no muscles equals no muscle tears. I didn't miss matches, right? I didn't miss them. I didn't tear stuff. I got beaten up and broken down, but I made almost all my matches. So I thanked Mr. McMahon for a great night. He said, thanks, Mick. And then I put, by the way, ... love that stunner. So it was great, man. It was really great. But you could not botch a move that badly if you tried. So one guy took umbrage and he was like, you tried doing that at 75. I'm like, first of all, 75 is not that far away from me, right? It's only 18 years. I said, I'll show up 18 years from now and take a stunner. I guarantee you'll be better than Mr. McMahon. So it was good. It was a little lot of fun. All right. Looking for a female perspective out there. Do we have any female questions? Do we? I don't.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, which is your favorite character? My favorite is Dude Love.
You like Dude Love, huh?
I love Dude Love.
Wow.
Yes, I love it. So.
Well, hey, do you have a birthday coming up?
My birthday's coming up. Yeah.
When is it?
June 12th.
Mine's June 7th.
See?
Hey, Frank, can you find me my Dude Love stuff in the zipper compartment? And our sound guy. Can we find the karaoke version of the Drifters' White Christmas on YouTube? Would you like to come up here and be serenaded by the dude? Where else we can find it? That's it. That's a great show.
This is my stage, guys. I swear. I swear.
Where did you get your shirt?
Online, redheart.com. Birthday gift last year from my brother. Yep.
Wishing you a happy birthday. The type of day I think you'll like. Type of day I think you'll like. When the presents open, here's this type of bed. You say with me into the mic. Is wishing you a laid back kind of birthday. But from that cake, save me a slice. Don't be stingy, save me a slice. May your days, may your days, may your days. And I hope your birthday is nice. One more time. Feel free to clap along. Wishing you a groovy kind of birthday, just like the ones you used to know, like the ones you used to know, when those presents over there open. This is true love open. You buy a chair that you can throw. Whoa, 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 whoa. He's wishing you that groovy kind of birthday. I was not joking about that slice. I never joke about a slice. Make your days, make your days, make your days. Mellow and laid back. But dude's hoping. Oh, dude is really hoping. Hoping that your birthday is. There's rumor that Ric Flair could possibly die in this final match. That's how he wants to go. I'll be honest.
This summer, seek awe, seek inspiration.
I would be just fine expiring on this stage after giving to you from my heart. So, question, Big Stu, go ahead.
I was wondering, what do you think of the current wrestling, WWE, AEW? What's your opinion of the current wrestling?
Well, I'm a big fan of the current wrestling scene. It's changed a lot. You're holding your heart. Are you okay with that, my friend? I'm so sorry. Bad enough I already stole $100 from you. Now I'm stealing your girlfriend's heart. I do. I love the current scene. I don't think we will ever have a magical era like we did in the Attitude Era. I was talking with Triple H a few days ago. Went up to Stanford. He's doing good. He's doing a lot better. And they brought him in to meet me so we could talk because there's going to be a new A&E show called Greatest WWE Rivalries. And so he and I had a chance to talk about that. And I said, you know what I think made the Attitude Era so special is that you had like 5 or 6 top guys all hitting their stride at the same time. Because you had Austin, he hit it, late 96, 97. Rock took off like a rocket, right? And then you had Undertaker, he'd always been there with the new Triple H, not Hunter Hearst Helmsley, but for a wrestling fan. And I think, I wrote an article about a year and a half ago. It said, WWE, we've got a problem. And the problem was that wrestling prospects no longer saw WWE as the only place to go. And I warned them that if the upcoming talent kept seeing the way that talent was underutilized, they were going to find themselves in a heck of a situation. But I think we've got AEW going strong, you've got WWE doing really well, especially around the world. It's a global force, and Impact is doing good, Major League Wrestling, there's all kinds of indies popping up. Used to be when I was breaking in, Shane Douglas and I would steal the show in like 86 and 87, and it was petty theft, okay? There was maybe 2 good matches on a card, and now you go and everybody's pretty good. You don't get booked unless you're pretty good. And we had a young wrestler asking about today, if you don't mind me singing out, asking for tips on how to come alive when his music plays. I said, how long have you been in it? He's like, 6 months. I was like, brother, you never know when that flip is going to switch. Just watch as much as you can. I'll give you the same advice I gave Becky Lynch, pre-man Becky Lynch, when she was frustrated, even contemplating leaving the wrestling business. I said, Becky, be patient and be prepared. So get to listening to videos of people you like. Don't copy them, but you know, I copy them, borrow guys like Terry Funk. And then you make that stuff your own. You find something that worked for somebody, you figure out why it worked, and then you learn to wrestle every style, and you get comfortable, and one day that music's gonna play, you're gonna have that hit thing we talked about. All right, so question right there, go ahead.
On Stars, on Heels, why did you play a podcaster instead of a hardcore, washed-up old wrestler?
Because I don't know any of those guys.
I didn't read the washed-up part, I just maybe...
Well, that was what the role was written for, Dick Valentine, right?
Exactly.
And yeah, I haven't seen it because I want to binge watch it with my kids. I'm waiting to binge watch that in the latest season.
You were great in it.
Was I really?
Oh, you were.
I really liked the show. I've seen 3 episodes. I really liked it. It was just tough. The toughest thing about that was getting to Atlanta a week early and getting COVID tested every single day. And then I did my thing and I went home. But I'm glad you liked it. All right, question right there.
Can you tell me what you remember about your ECW no hardcore?
Oh, my ECW anti-hardcore run is a thing of beauty, right? Paul Heyman asked me if I could turn heel. And ECW was thought to be impossible. You know, I had a lot of goodwill accrued with the wild fans there. And I thought about it for a second, like literally a second. I said, yeah, okay. And I remembered what Michael PSA is one of the great wrestling minds in history. I know he's behind the scenes and has been for 25 years or more in WWE. He was a great character as Freebird Michael Hayes, one of the great talkers in the business. He told me, like in '88, a heel has to believe he's right. No matter how warped the logic, the heel has to believe he's right. That's what makes for a real powerful bad guy, whether it's in wrestling, movies, TV, literary projects, whatnot. And so I just immediately thought about a guy who held up a sign in the crowd that said Cane Dewey. Cane was a verb, you know, we used to Singapore cane. Overnight, because of an international incident in Singapore, the tried and true kendo stick became the Singapore cane. So cane was a verb, and a guy had a sign that said Cane Dewey, which was more or less advocating for the beating of my 3-year-old son. And I just used that as a way to get angry at everyone out there. And it was so believable that that sign guy went into a deep, dark depression. And we later made up over it. But that was what sent me off on the original path. But then I saw that what I was doing by being angry was actually making some people like me more. So I started systematically taking away everything fans liked and respected about me, shaved completely, started pandering to the audience, which they hated. They would rather be yelled at and lambasted than catered to, pandered to. And it was just, it was a really good thing. And then I said, by virtue of the fact that I was a former WCW Tag Team Champion, I didn't have to work hard. I was going to come out there and I was going to stink up that ring, and I could do it because I was Cactus Jack. And that's exactly what I did. Stunk up that ring. Did a match with a guy named El Puertoricano, who was actually from Ecuador. We're not big on geography in professional wrestling. And it was his debut match. Hey man, what do you want to do? Nothing. We will do nothing. I'm going to take you down in the headlock, and then that's it. the match. And then, you know, I think at one point I threw him outside the ground and I did like the WCW, you know. It was really a lot of fun. You know, if I was the only guy out there, you know, only named guy, and I was putting on a 4-finger sticker, that'd be one thing, but we had guys doing unbelievable acts of daring do, and so it helped the card, not hurt the card. I loved it, you know, I loved the stories we were able to tell, and it was really, I had the luxury of creating stuff and bouncing things off of Paul Heyman, and, you know, no such thing as a mistake, only learning experiences. I think, going back to what people said, how do you think about today's product? The thing I worry about in WWE is that people are not playing to win, they're playing not to lose. And that doesn't bring out the best in anybody in any sport, whether it's hockey, because I know I talked to, don't boo, it's a former Islander, okay? And he was having a tough season, and he said he was so concerned about making a mistake and getting yelled at that it completely took all of his strengths away. So I think in the Attitude Era, we were given the freedom to try different things, to make mistakes, and if we came back and it wasn't good, we got another try at it, at least a few tries in a row. Mr. McMahon hated This Is Your Life, The Rock. To this day, he doesn't think it was any good, but he realized it did a monster rating, and when Dwayne and I call him Dwayne, yeah, I know the biggest star in the world, buddy of mine, yeah, and he tapped me on the shoulder the next day in catering, and he said, "Did you hear the rating?" My heart kind of sunk because the intonation of his voice led me to believe it was a bad rating. I said, "What was it?" He said, 8.4. And I went, 8.4? Like, there was no way to account for an 8.4. Even if every single person watching WCW switched over instantaneously. The only thing we can figure out is that people had to be calling friends and family on the phone. And so we knew Mr. McMahon didn't like the segment. He was angry that it went 14 minutes overtime on live TV. And this is where, I remember I said I will exaggerate stories for your listening pleasure. I don't honestly know if Mr. McMahon was cowering behind a couch. The chance of his feet actually sticking out behind the couch like he was the Wicked Witch of the East having a house dropped on her, probably not strong, but that's the way I remember it. Rock and I walked in and we saw his feet behind the couch and we went, "Vince," and he went, "All right, damn it. You can do whatever you want from now on." So we did. All right, we got time for more questions. Let me see, we're going to go to the back here. Gentleman with the Cactus Jack shirt.
Talking about Terry Funk, I loved you tagging with Chainsaw Charlie.
Yep.
Can you tell me about getting thrown off the stage in a dumpster?
I can, yeah. I was just thinking about it yesterday, how gingerly I climbed up that Titantron, right? I'm not much of a climber. It was like, here he is, Cactus Jack, oh my God, it's feared all around the world. And I went one step and I followed up with the side, like very gingerly walking up there. And then I dropped an elbow in what seemed to be a sea of foam. And I knew that didn't hurt as much as it should have. And Terry Funk and I were actually, they had some straps for us to hold on to. And we were actually praying in there and telling each other we loved each other. I love you, Terry. And we were ready to be unconscious and have the rest of our lives being fed through a straw. And when it happens, it lands and we go, that must have sucked. Because we didn't think it looked good. It looked okay. You know, they made a big deal out of it. It did lead to a pretty good match at WrestleMania with the New Age Outlaws. But yeah, it should have been a little wilder. Should have been a little wilder. And it should have been. It's one of those things I wish I could do over again. But it was a good angle, and it led up to a good match. And then that match led into Dude Love's heel turn. And I had a couple of great matches with Stone Cold as Dude Love. And then, you know, then the magic of the Hell in a Cell just a month after that. So it was a good time. Okay, new question. All right, gentlemen, right there.
Do you have any good Jim Cornette stories?
Do I have any good Jim Cornette stories? You're a corny fan, I take it? Oh, there's going to be a fight going on in here, right? People take sides. Nobody's non-committal when it comes to Cornette, right? They either love him or they don't. But I'll tell you, he was always on my side, never more so than when I had my tryout match with WCW, and I saw my name on the chalkboard against the Steiners. And I contemplated leaving the building because they were animals. And I thought when they said I was going to get a tryout match that somebody was going to be out there to amplify what I could do to make me look better. And then before I could make that fateful decision as to whether to quit the wrestling business, I heard Kevin Sullivan say, "Brother, what's your finish?" It caught me off guard. Because I just seen my name on the board with the Steiners. I didn't think I was getting any offense in, let alone a move so devastating it would put an end to the match, which is what a finish is. And so I just blurted out, "I drop an elbow?" And Sullivan goes, "Brother, you drop an elbow for a finish?" Because without further explanation, an elbow drop for a finish sounds weak, right? Benign. Hate to use a dirty word here, but Hogan-esque. Nobody's recording this, right? Come to think of it, I think Hulkster's been involved in worse videos than this one. Jim Cornette filled in the blanks. Remember, Sullivan's questioning the elbow drop for a finish, and then you hear Corny go, "God damn, Kevin, you gotta see this elbow. Damnest thing you've ever seen." I'm looking around, we got the 6 to 8 non-wrestling fans going, "Well, that's Mickey Mouse." And the rest of you go, "No, that's Cornette. And that's a good Cornette, right? God damn, you gotta see this elbow. He was flying off the ring apron, you can see his body, hear it smiling on the concrete floor. God damn." And Sullivan said, "Brother, I don't care how badly Ricky or Scotty hurt you out there tonight. That match is over. I want to see you drop that elbow on your partner." So Cornette and Sullivan had gotten together and realized that other people had to say so over who won the matches, but they couldn't say have any say in who lost the matches. And so they built this underground angle. Did you guys move or being blocked by that speaker over there? Okay, all right. All right, so you can see everything okay? Okay, good. But that's I really like Jimmy. He's always had my back. He didn't like when I did the flip for the penis guy, Joey Ryan. I was just so impressed that I could do a flip right after hip surgery. And I think the thing that hurt me most is when Corny went, "Mick's got to stop letting people talk him into this type of thing." I was like, "Talk him into it? That's got my blueprints all over it, right? Thumbprints, right? Like that's a Foley special right there." Good question. Okay, we got time for like 5 more. Let me see. We're gonna go to the back. Way back there, gentlemen back there.
So, we're talking about parents here. So, were you ever involved in any time that a wrestler was?
Oh, I happen to have been involved in an incident here, right here, in Montreal, November of 1999. Now, it doesn't look like this is ringing any bells, so I'll just let you know, November 1999, Mother Nature, Father Time had joined forces as a tag team to kick my ass in a way I never foresaw. Really having trouble. I put on a lot of weight. My knees were giving me trouble. Couldn't do the things I wanted to do, so I had to find a way to get creative. So I'm looking over and I see Al Snow, and he's putting on his singlet. Now you know the story, right? He's putting on his singlet, but he doesn't have underwear or an athletic supporter underneath it. Not that I'm anybody's pecker checker, but he's putting on his singlet. I said, "Al, you don't wear underwear?" And he goes, "No, it shows lines on TV." I said, "Well, we're not even on TV. This is a non-televised afternoon match." And then I get an idea, like the Grinch when he had that wonderful, awful idea. And I go over to corroborate with Bob Sparkplug Bob Holly, meanest man in the world. And Al sees us talking. He goes, "What are you two up to?" I said, "We're not up to anything." He goes, "I know you're up to something." I said, "No, we're not up to anything. We were up to something." So when the match starts, it's me and Crash Holly, and I hip toss Crash into his own corner. He tags cousin Bob. I tag Al in. Al's got that stupid "help me" written backwards on his head. What it should say is "Lamb being led to slaughter," because that's about what he was. As soon as Bob got in there, Bob kicked Al as hard as he could in the stomach, not because of any ill will, That's just the way Bob Holly did things. And then he hooked Al up for a standard vertical suplex. But in doing so, he took Al's singlet and moved it from one side of his body to the other, and then lifted Mr. Snow high, high into the late November Montreal hockey arena air. He didn't just leave him up there, he began pirouetting with him. And it became obvious to me that Al had two factors working against him that afternoon. Number one, did I mention it was late November? Did I mention it was Montreal? Did I mention it was in a hockey arena? So there had been significant shrinkage. The second factor working against Mr. Snow is he was not subscribing to what was at the time the rather new trend in male grooming. Peeking out of a nasty vulture's nest. This is where I got a little worried, because Al's a tough customer. Going back in time, he actually managed Dan to be severed in Dan's first 3 UFC tournaments, right? Al's a tough dude. I was afraid I was going to get my ass handed to me. Instead, he was laughing. Bob finally dropped him on the mat, and I was going, and I finally, out of the goodness of my heart, said, "Al, your dick still shine." I thought that was a pretty good prank. Yeah, thank you very much. It's got a little Montreal flavor to it, too. All right, go ahead, my friend.
You mentioned Owen earlier. What are some of like your best Owen memories, whether it's a rib or just a story?
The best Owen memories I have are just driving with him and traveling, because we had so many things in common. We loved saving money. Brett loves it. We did, man. We love to save our money. Brett tells this story about Owen and I embarking on a 10-day road trip with no credit cards and just a single $20 bill in our pockets to see who could outlast the other. And I think Owen tapped out on day 5 and I still had $4 left. He was a wonderful guy. I honestly don't think I've had a friend that I was that close to since his passing. So I love that guy. Miss him still to this day. All right, we got time for I think 3 more questions. Let me see. This is where, let me bring Jason Sensation out here. Jason, are you back there, buddy?
Wasn't that the fake Owen Hart?
Yeah, Owen. Yeah, Jason did the Jason could fire up a couple of that classic. He did that amazing when the against the nation domination. What am I, a nugget? Jason, are you still here? Maybe she should come out. But yeah. Oh, he's not. Okay. All right. Oh, we got time for 3 more questions. Okay, let me see. We're going to take. I was going to have Jason be the bad guy and pick out the final 3. So I'm not the heel. There's way too many people. There's a lot of pressure. I think we're going to just leave it at 0 questions.
Sorry, I'll do it, Mick.
Okay, Brian, yeah, you be the guy. 3 questions, you pick them out. We're looking for a cross section. This gentleman right there, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I want to ask, what do you think about Flair's final match?
His final, that's pretty definitive, right? I had a final match too in 2000. And then it's like the mafia, just when you think you're out, you're back in. Look, I love the movie Rocky Balboa, okay? I thought that was maybe my favorite after the first one. And not only does he have, there he is. I gave Jason this little talk. I said, now Jason, one thing, remember you got a microphone. So as you get louder, pull the microphone away. I didn't see him doing that. So just remember, when you get into the thing, pull it away. You wanted the stuff you did with the Nation, when you were an honorary member at DX, was just the best stuff. I mean, they had Hunter dressed up like The Rock, you know, they had Mark Henry dressed up, X-Pac dressed up like Mark Henry, but to me, Jason stole the show. So if you're a big Owen fan, do you remember it all? Oh yeah. Give us was a minute.
I've watched that more than anybody.
Work your magic, man.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change! Nobody listens to me. Nobody gives a damn what I think. And what the hell am I doing wearing this ridiculous outfit? I look like a damn road sign. What the hell am I? A school crossing? I tried to be a tough guy, but I just couldn't grow my damn beard in. And if anybody smells what The Rock is cooking, it's me! Look how big my damn nose is! What the hell am I? An aardvark?
Thank you for dancing. So, Rocky Balboa, I do these cameo videos. A couple people mentioned I got cameos, right? Love doing the cameos. That's where the different songs come in. I think I've got 11 birthday songs, which is 11 more than Bret Hart will get in. Just put it out there. Right? Best there is, best there was, best there will be. He's not sitting at home writing birthday songs, okay? But when people are down, sometimes I will refer to the Rocky Balboa movie, and there's this speech he gives his son when his son's complaining about living in the shadow. And this is me channeling my inner Rocky Balboa. Life's not about how hard you can hit it. Life's about how hard you can get it and keep getting up and moving forward. That's how winning's done. And I believe that. And the other thing he said was that he still had some junk, you know, in the basement. And that means he had some unsettled unfinished business. And when they tried not to give him, when the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission tried not to grant him a license, he talked about the pursuit of happiness, and he said, I'm pursuing something and nobody looks too happy about it. So I believe that's what Rick's doing, just pursuing something to make him happy. He misses it. I've always said Terry Funk and Ric Flair were the only two people who had it every single time they stepped in the ring. So I have no doubt it's going to be pretty magical. I'm going to be there for StarCast. I'll be paying attention. I'll go up and take a chop or two to go to the match if I have to. But I think it's going to be pretty awesome. I think it's, and then while we're here, I'm going to tell you my favorite Ric Flair memory. Yeah. Okay, it's not one that people know, and I never really wrote about it. But I was going to do a benefit show in Charlotte, North Carolina for Shane Helms, who had almost lost his leg in a motorcycle accident. And the first person I called was Ric Flair to see if he wanted to be part of it. He said, absolutely. And then he got us some media, you know, he's so well known in the area. So we're on like Good Morning Charlotte. And they said, hey, we're going to talk with WWE superstars Mick, Foley, and Ric Flair. But first, we're going to take a look at the winner of the local talent show. And it's a 10 or 11-year-old kid doing a Michael Jackson impression. And he's doing Billie Jean. You know, we all know the boom, 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 boom. Man, the kid's 10 or 11 years old, his parents are there watching him, and the kid reaches down and he grabs his junk, right? But only momentarily. And so we kind of let it go because we're not sure we saw what we think we saw. And about the 5th time the kid reaches for his junk, he grabs it, squeezes it, and holds it there. And Rick turns to me and goes, he's really got a handful there, doesn't he, brother? You got these two guys, 19 world titles between us. Rick's got 16, I've got 3, right? I'd still say we're both legendary figures in our field, and we are laughing like school children, holding our stomachs, and people who might be watching are like, I thought those guys were supposed to hate each other. Like, they do, but look at them, isn't that so cute? That was probably my best thing. He's really got a handful there, brother, doesn't he? 2 more questions. Ryan, you're the man. Who do we got here?
2 more.
2 more, okay. Well, this guy with the old school WWF thing and the beard.
She asked me that. It's Matt Perry. He's very popular in Montreal.
All right.
But she just asked the same question I was going to ask, so now I'm done.
Brother, now's the time. Get on your feet, come up with something different.
Ah, fuck, I don't have nothing. Pick somebody else better.
Fuck off.
Or
Who's your favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh man, it's got to be Funker. Boy, he made it so easy to suspend disbelief so that I'd be in the ring and I wasn't sure. But I'll tell you one thing, he comes down like a madman. He and I are supposed to be in perspective corners. I think I'm in Jerry Lawler's corner. He's in Man Scout's corner. Man Scout's a grown man / Boy Scout. And Terry comes running for the ring and I say to the ring announcer, get out of the ring. He goes, why? I said, get out of the ring. He said, well, why? I'm the ring announcer. I said, get out of the ring. Remember that left hand that Terry hit me with in Japan? That's the same left hand he hit that guy with. And after the match, the guy sitting back there, the ring announcer's got an ice pack on his head, and he said, I can't believe he hit me. And I said, what part of the words, get out of the ring, did you not understand? So that's to me. He wrestled a variety of styles, but he turned 42 and he became middle-aged crazy. And he had basically 2 Hall of Fame careers. One as a great NWA champion, technical wrestler, and the second as the wildest brawler in the game. So that'd be my answer for greatest wrestler. Number 1.
Last question. Where was this guy way at the back at the bar? He hasn't had any love.
Okay. All right, go for it, my friend.
Your Mount Rushmore.
Oh, my Mount Rushmore. Mine's an interesting one, okay? I've never heard anybody who has the same Mount Rushmore. I go with Funk, Flair, Shawn Michaels, Tommy Billington.
Who?
And Tommy Billington is the one when I say it to other wrestlers, they go, oh, that's an interesting one. But nobody says he doesn't belong there. So those are the people. To me, Flair, Funk was the greatest wrestler of all time. Flair was the greatest of the first wave of pay-per-view wrestling, meaning on a monthly basis. And Shawn Michaels picked up the mantle from him. And I just think that what Tommy Billington did was just stunning and incredible and way out of its time. So that's my Mount Rushmore. And the great thing about Mount Rushmore is just nobody's is wrong, right? Unless you throw Al Snow in there. Then. I want to thank you guys. This was a great time. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. And have a nice day.
Mick Foley, Montreal, Mick Foley! Hey, thank you all so much for coming out. One more round of applause for the owners and the staff here at Cafe Cleopatra for having us. A big round of applause for Chris Cantillo and Walter Lynn for producing this show. Listen, man, we'll talk quickly. You don't make a ton of money. I produce shows too, and it's a hustle, it's a grind. You put a lot of hours and effort into doing it, and you don't get rich off of it. So much love to Walter and Chris Cantillo for doing stuff like this that brings it to Montreal. So please, support these guys. In saying that, June 25th, just coming up. It's a huge double headliner bill. I performed with both of these comedians. I've opened for both of them. You've got Derek Seguin from Montreal here, is an absolute murderer, and Joey Elias. It's literally 2 crazy headliners here. June 25th, right here at Cafe Cleopatra. So please spread the word. Follow what Chris and Walter are doing. They're doing good things, man. One more time for yourselves. You guys were amazing. Thank you so much for coming out.